o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
All right, hello again, everybody, from the Working Man's Beach. We're doing it live. Great P-Man here with you on a Victory Friday that gets you to the weekend edition. Let's hope it is going to be a successful one for the Pirates when you look at everything stem to stern. It is the PJ Show, and we have our guy Joe Samson coming up in our next segment. Looking forward to talking some ball with Joey Football, former ECU tight end, and our analyst for our Anson Belton Buckle Pirate Game Day Countdown. It is brought to you by Orthopedics East. And Philip the Rev Pilkington is here. We'll also talk to Bobby Rosinski coming up. Bobby with ESPN Charlotte, and he also calls games for ESPN Plus for the 49ers. Always great to have Bobby on the program. We'll talk about Biff Poggi and his departure from the 49er program this week. So an active hour ahead. We have results in from games today. We say hello to Pilk first, who was glued to all the different screens. Did you find Baller TV? Did you find Ballas?
No.
Is that the name of the app, Ballas TV?
I did not. I just I listened to Darren call it. I had the volleyball game up, and I was watching some of the the Myrtle Beach tournament, the Charleston tournament. So I was kind of out of screens, and I figured why pay for it when I'm going to sit there and only half watch it anyways, because I'm going to be worried about what Darren's doing. So, as
the late great G. Gordon Liddy said, never pay for it. I think he was referring to something else, but never pay for it. In that regard. So I've listened to Darren the last 2 days, and Darren does a fantastic job, by the way, of calling the action. And, there's only so many ways you could say misses a shot, though. Having done basketball for 30 years, there's only so many ways you can say. Came up empty, missed the shot. Pirates shot 36%, but got the win over Stetson. 71-64. East Carolina now 5-1. They will play tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Pilk?
the network's going to take over at 1. It's probably going to be closer to 1:30.
Okay, with the airtime for the network.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the game will be played closer to
the game
1:30.
will be played closer to 1:30. The network will start at 1, which means
Okay.
11 o'clock, our Anson Belton Buckle Pirate Game Day Countdown, brought to you by Orthopedics East and Sports Medicine Center.
It's 11 to 1 tomorrow.
It is.
All right. I wake up early. So if we were going to do this at 3:30 a.m., which I think was the other start time that I had been told, I was going to be fine. But being a little under the weather, I'm totally down with sleeping in tomorrow.
Yeah,
in
the
fact,
basketball game I'm watching
about
tonight.
8 minutes after this show ends, I'll be getting in bed.
Understandable. Yeah, but with the game I'm watching tonight at 10:30, I won't be getting in bed till 1, so I'll be very happy we're not going on the air at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Are you going to stay up and watch your Tar Heels play in Hawaii at 12:30?
No, I will not be watching the Tar Heels play. I mean, the Duke game ends, and I'll need to wind down after the emotion of that, so I will put it on for, a couple minutes, but I'm not going to, stay up and watch it.
By the way, the Duke game, they play basketball tonight at Arizona, and that will air on 103.7 WTIB. And that will be a 9:30 airtime, 10:30 tip for that one. And then Oldies 94.1 and Oldies 102.7 will have Tar Heel basketball for you, I believe, at 11:30 tonight. We'll also have high school football on these airwaves tonight. The Rose Rapids at Southern Nash. And that game is a start time of 7. 6:45 the airtime with Croft and RV. Is that right, Bill?
We're doing 6:50.
6:50, okay. So 6:50 here on 94.3 The Game. They returned back to the original station of Rose Rampant Football. And then, Ref, we've got What do we got? Havelock plays Western Alamance. That's a 6:45 airtime on, is it 96.3 or 94.1?
94.1 and 102.7 at 6:40.
So you go out of Havelock football roughly and get into Tar Heel basketball. There you go, the way God intended it.
How many Tar Heel fans will stay up, Patrick?
How many will stay up?
Yeah, for the 12:30
I'm sure plenty will. And some of the I wish I had my full array of sound effects, because this will deserve a rim shot, even though it's the truth. But many of those ECU football, Carolina basketball fans will be staying up tonight. You all still exist. You're all still out there. That was a phenomena for many, many, many moons. Less than it used to be, but they're still out there. Basketball, speaking of which, Pirates today with the win. R.J. Felton with 21 points and 8 rebounds as he continues to be excellent. Jordan Riley had a very nice day with 14 points and 5 boards, 13 for Cam Hayes today. C.J. Walker had 11 for the Pirates and 5 rebounds. Travion LeBeau in the lineup grabbed 7 boards, as did Jay Shane Woodard. You know, I think you got to find a way to get Woodard more minutes, especially with his length. And I don't like the idea that you're playing Malanga he played 1 minute today. In some ways, I think some of these minutes that are going to LeBeau, and I understand he does some things in practice, but some of those minutes, in my opinion, should probably be going to Sear Malanga. You can't teach 6'11", especially when you're going to play teams in the American that have guys that are 6'9", 6'10", 7 foot. Going to need to match them with a big body. Juice was out today. Samaro did not play, so we got to see Tybo Bailey for a few minutes here and there today. And I thought we would have seen Woodard maybe a little more at the point. But anyway, victory's a victory. Is it Illinois-Chicago tomorrow?
Yeah.
The Flames, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. Look at you.
I know a thing or two about a thing or two, Pilk. So that'll be the opponent tomorrow with a 1 o'clock airtime. That'll follow our Pirate Game Day Countdown. So will basketball go into football on the network? Or are these questions I need not ask?
No, this is good. This is good. So on 94.3 only, none of our affiliates, only 94.3 will be basketball. Football will start on 107.9 and all of the affiliates at 2:30. And then when basketball ends, Dom will work his magic, cross his arms, blink his eyes, and magically football will start playing on 94.3 as well.
So the basketball game only on 94.3 the game tomorrow.
Yes.
And once it gets going, we will have it on we will join Football in Progress on 94.3 the game. Otherwise,
once basketball ends, we're going to do the whole basketball.
Once the basketball broadcast ends, then you join that in progress. But 107.9 will have everything else. I got you. Volleyball, a loser today as well. They were without the preseason player of the year, Angeles Alderete, and they lose in 5 sets to Florida Atlantic. We'll see if there will be postseason in the invitational tournament for ECU. That was the case, but after this early exit from the rejuvenated AAC tournament, who knows? All right, we'll take a break, come back, and we'll talk some Pirate football with Joe Samson. Joey Football on the other side here on 94.3 The Game. It's the Patrick Johnson Show.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast, Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Have you noticed he's in his own little happy hour? We're back to the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
This is the Happy Hour program.
Here's the P-Man.
So according to reports, ECU is playing football tomorrow against North Texas from Denton, Texas. Let's bring in part of the game day crew, joining Pilk and myself here, the one, the only, Joe Samson, Joey Football.
Do it live!
All right, Joey Football. Great to see you. So there's this argument going on, not really an argument, an accusation, let's just say. Joey Football pops off before we go on to the segment here.
Do it live!
And says to me, I'm going to a Korean barbecue place tonight. And I just asked, oh, that sounds intriguing. Is it any good? His words to me were, it is, but I don't know if you're willing to work for it. And I said to myself, what the heck does that mean? And then Pilkington comes in and decides he wants to chime in, never missing a chance to take a shot at somebody. Philip the Ref Pilkington, or I should say take a shot at me. Philip the Ref Pilkington comes in and says, well, you're pampered. You're spoiled. You only go to games if you could sit in the club level and have a catered meal. And that is correct. But I mean, what is the argument here? Because this, I would assume this is upscale. This isn't like some all-you-can-eat buffet or something that you're going to, is it, Joey Football?
Well, it's kind of like that, as far as like you pick the meats and then they bring it to you, you cook it on the grill. My point was, you don't strike me as the type of person who'd want to go to the restaurant and have the experience at the restaurant be you cooking the food for yourself.
All right, is there other people that are in your party that you're cooking with, or is it like a communal thing?
It's the people you come in with, so you're not like sitting down with strangers.
That's okay, because generally speaking, you're going to eat with somebody who you feel relatively comfortable about their hygiene.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you could say something to it. So I'm all right with that. Long as you're not picking with your hands, or that the community at large is not in there picking the same food you are, like from a trough, like you're some kind of barnyard animal, then I'm fine with this whole scenario. Although I will admit, I'm not going to the restaurant to cook the stuff myself.
See?
I want the stuff cooked, and I want to make sure that it's hot and prepared like I want it to be prepared. I'm not paying for that experience.
That was all I was saying.
If I were going to do that, why wouldn't I just get the stuff and do it at home on the grill or on a Blackstone or something?
Yep.
How about that? How about that for a little first world there, Blackstone, gentlemen?
There you go. Hey, you can. You know what? If you have a Blackstone, you can there is no reason for you to go to the Japanese places where they cook in front of you. Because
you could do anything.
One of my friends who has a Blackstone, man, he cooks us some hibachi, and it is.
Oh, I bet it's delish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bet it is. All right, so we're here. I'm taking live fire from Joey Football and Philip the Ref Pilkington, despite playing hurt. You think you guys would be trying to lift your teammate?
Whoa, when are you playing? Are you sick all of a sudden, and now
I'm sick.
You're
I've been sick for 2 days.
Actually, he did tell me that yesterday. He called me yesterday.
Yeah, I
Said
did.
He's feeling under the weather.
But to quote,
you know what? You know what time I went to bed last night, Pilk? 6:30.
Oof.
Even for me, that's early.
Yeah.
That is
early.
early.
I plan on going to bed as soon as this thing ends today.
But getting a nap in, right? Because Duke and Arizona play at 10:30.
No. I'm going to bed as soon as this thing ends.
Oh, okay.
My nap's going to be like a 14-hour nap, and then be ready to roll tomorrow in the morning.
I'm going to call you
That's
right
the
after
plan.
the Duke game ends. Did you see that? 2 a.m.
How about you? Well, no, the UNC's playing at 12:30 tonight in basketball at Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
If it were the old days, Pilk, you would have to run the board, or somebody would have to run the board for the game at 12. This were the olden days when I was coming up in radio, when I was your guys' age. So I never ran the board. I did a couple times, but I didn't have to run the board to get into the biz. I always got paid too when I got into the biz. I never got paid. I never had to do an internship, so I always got paid. Now I haven't got paid very much more than what I got paid the first time 30 years ago. It's still fair. It has not kept up with the pace of inflation. I'll tell you that, or the pace of wages. But anyway, let's start with this, guys. I'm hearing different things about this coaching search. There was the report by IGO yesterday that there was the meeting with the board of trustee members. And, when you look at that, that's one of those things that Blake Harrell was, I guess, told in that meeting to be a candidate, said to be a candidate, the trustees meeting today. Joe, do you think that if the Pirates win tomorrow, Blake Harrell will be named the permanent head coach?
I don't think it comes down to any one win or another. I think it comes down to a lot more than the record you had in 3 games. And as painful as it is to say, because I love Coach Harrell and I love Blake, they want to see the plan. The same way you'd interview now as a head coach in the NFL. They want to know, what's the 5-year plan? Where are you going to take this program? Where are you going to set yourself up for success? NIL, how are you going to recruit? Who are you going to call to fundraise? Who are your 3 biggest wants right now at the coordinator position? Is it keeping the same staff? Do you want to change any staff? Those are all conversations. I don't know if Blake's had the opportunity to try and put together that kind of resume while also trying to maintain this team that is now bowl eligible and looking for a chance to still go to the conference title game. I think that timeline for him has not been beneficial, where he can put this together and say, I'm going to go get this guy. I talked to this guy. We're going to go get this guy. We're targeting this guy. We know he's in the portal. He's going to be a big want for us. I just don't know if Blake's been able to do that from the CEO standpoint, because he's still so involved in the day-to-day of a season.
Do you try to retain him in some capacity if you go with somebody else?
You can try. I think once it's kind of like
all right. Let me ask you this.
I wouldn't say
Joe.
a bad situation. It's just kind of one of those things. He's had the taste of being a head coach. Does he want to go back down when he wasn't fired from the head coach position?
Well, and then also whoever you bring in is going to want to probably bring in their own defensive coordinator.
Usually,
yeah.
I understand that, but with these offensive coordinator candidates. They don't know anything about defense. They think defense just gets in the way of what they're going to present on offense. So they're not at all concerned about defense. And I'll say that even though the defense has been a little big play allowing prone this year, it is a proven commodity under Blake Harrell. It's vastly improved on the whole. So would you? All right, let me ask you this, Joe Samson. Put your AD hat on. Would you hire Blake Harrell?
As the AD, the first question I have is if I'm the AD, that means the board of trustees has told me they have a vision and an identity. So if it's offensive, do they want to go get the big home run hitter offensive coach because they want to excite the fan base? Because especially in today's day and age. Nobody likes a 13-10 win where there was 3 field goals and a touchdown. Nobody wants to see it anymore. So there's the first thing.
Let me revise this then.
Yeah.
Would you hire Blake Harrell and knowing that you have JDB for another year?
Yes.
Under contract.
Yes, I would. I think Harrell's got enough connections. We've heard him talk to so many different coaches that if JDB does decide to move on or take a better job in a year, you're not going to be caught on the back foot. You're anticipating that happening. Every coach is kind of anticipating when it comes to their coordinators. They're either going to leave or they're going to go get a better job somewhere. That's kind of the nature of the beast, and that's a really good reflection on you as the head coach. You're going to see it with the Lions this year, and you're going to see it with the Texans. Those are going to be the first 4 candidates everybody talks about for a head coaching position. D'Amico Ryan, Dan Campbell all have plans in place on how they can offset that and supplement it. So I'd hire Harrell. Harrell's got a great feel for the organization as a whole in ECU football and the fundraising. And I mean, you guys have talked at length about it. When he walks into tiebreakers, you feel the energy. You feel like he's that guy that you've known for 40 years. And all of a sudden now he's talking ball with you about the ins and outs. He loves the kids. The kids love him. His family loves Greenville. He's a North Carolina guy, which isn't a very common thing you see these days for coaches who know the area or have been around the area. He comes from very little also, so he's hungry. He's determined. He doesn't necessarily think that everything should be handed to him. It's a gritty kind of thing, and I think East Carolina needs some grit when it comes to that to reestablish themselves.
So I do have a question.
Wait a minute.
If Blake gets hired,
hang on, Pilk. Hang on.
Everyone, a little breaking news for you.
Joey Football says that JDB will be the next offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions or the Houston Texans. Is that what I just heard there? Is that what I just heard?
Everyone, a little breaking news for you.
Okay.
So speaking of coordinators, though, if Blake gets hired,
Pilk, by the way, no selling the comedy here this afternoon. Go ahead, Pilk. Stick to sports.
If Blake gets hired, is the defensive coordinator Roy Tesh, Trip Weaver, or somebody else?
It's Roy Tesh. It's Roy.
Yeah,
I don't think Tripp's coming home. Okay. It's Roy Tesh. Sleeper, Damon Magazoo.
Okay.
Promotion from safety, had a really good track record at UNLV with that. Knows a little bit different as far as the defensive goes. They may want to keep Tesh in that role with the D-line because he does it so well. Sleeper's Damon Magazoo if he sticks around.
Okay.
Let's talk about some ball tomorrow. By the way, was that breaking news also, or is that just analysis?
Just analysis.
That's
a guess.
Joey Football's gut feeling.
Yeah, got to trust your gut.
Well, look, the Pirates are scoring well, but they need to probably tighten up their defense. I think that's what we go into tomorrow. You could almost say the same thing about North Texas. They are scoring pretty well, but golly gee whiz, they so much have to tighten up their defense. They canned their defensive coordinator this week.
Interesting.
So, Joe, how do you think that will change things, if at all, Mr. Samson?
It's kind of a Hail Mary this late in the season when you're canning a DC or an OC. You're hoping for it to be the spark you needed to try and flip some things around. You saw the Pirates do it last year with Donnie Kirkpatrick, but that was even later in the season. So you don't necessarily want to say you're putting your metaphorical eggs in one basket. I don't see North Texas having that big of a difference with the lack of DC in air quotes. The system's the system. It's a flawed system. They don't do a ton to stop the run. They get beat really easily on the back end. We saw Army actually hit, I want to say it was 2 or 3 passes over 30 yards last week when they played them. And that was a shock to a lot of people because, they're Army. Run the ball, and they keep on rolling along. And here they are going to the air raid. Run the ball. You went to the air raid like they were Air Force or something. So I don't think it's going to be anything that can help North Texas. I think it's really interesting to fire the guy against an offense that has been as polarizing and prolific as the Pirates since the firing of Coach Houston and that new age of JDB just letting it rip. But that'll be an interesting talking point for us to hit on tomorrow is whether or not we actually think it's going to do anything, because I think it's smoke and mirrors, and the Pirates still score at least 30.
All right, Chandler Morris is the North Texas quarterback, 3,300-plus yards, 27 touchdowns on the year. What teams have really done is run the ball effectively against North Texas, basically keeping the ball out of Chandler Morris's hands. ECU's averaged over 200 yards rushing in each of the last 3 contests. So I think there's a little bit of an insight into the game plan and the formula there. But with Morris, he's quite capable. He is quite prolific in what he can do. So what have you recognized or seen about Morris's game that gives you a little bit of pause heading into tomorrow, given how ECU's defense, again, has been a little susceptible to the big play?
Yeah, he's a three-step drop quarterback. He likes to put himself in situations where he knows he has the quick out or the relief throw. He likes the safety valve also. That running back's going to leak out into the flat a little bit on a couple flare routes, and he's going to pick up probably about 20 or 30 yards just off those alone. What's going to come down to it is a lot of teams have tried to neutralize Morris by not putting the ball in his hands. The opposite's going to happen for the Pirates. The Pirates aren't going to be worried about time of possession. They're not going to be worried about having to run the ball for 13 minutes so that Morris doesn't touch it. Blake Harrell's going to send the house. He's going to try and hit Morris directly in between those numbers in the backfield and set the tone early and say, that's great. This is East Carolina football. We're going to knock you around. We're going to hit you hard, and then we're going to score 35 points, give you the ball back, and do it all over again. So I don't think the Pirates are going to try and go the Navy route or the Army route here that teams have and try and control the time of possession, eat the clock, go slow. This is still going to be a high-tempo offense for the Pirates. It's just either going to be a shootout or it's going to be a blowout, no in between.
Caton Hauser and the whole offense, very sloppy. We talked about the game last week, but Hauser, when you've gone back and kind of studied that game, Joe, what have you seen out of Hauser that was it just one of those days where there's some questionable play calls that put him in a bad spot? Did Tulsa do anything that maybe cracked the code in dealing with Hauser? What's your 10-day out analysis of his play?
It's one of those days for sure. That's the first thing it's going to be. Quarterbacks are not always going to be perfect. It is the hardest position mentally to play in football. Physically, there are definitely positions more demanding, but you don't have those kinds of mental acuities that you have to at quarterback. You need to know what this guy's doing, what that guy's doing, what the defense is supposed to be doing. They blew the coverage. What are they doing now? And all those things kind of correlate. We talked about it last time we were out in the reaction show. He hasn't had that development yet. He's still not at a full season of started games. He's at 9 now. You really need 12 to really sit there and be a starter. Look at the jump Holton made between year 2 and year 3 because he really had a chance to develop and sit in the offense and feel it out and understand. There's a difference in coming in as a spot starter and being the starting pitcher, so to speak. And when it comes to being a quarterback, you can't be a reliever. You can't come off the bench and be in the flow of the game and understand the nuances and understand what the tendencies are of the defense. So I think it comes down to preparation. I think JDB felt that, and he's going to have him more prepared for how the coverages look. The other part people get so caught up in is when you get a scout team look, the scout team look's only going to do what's on the card. So if they ran it on the card and in the game they busted it on the back half and now all of a sudden they're playing a cloud corner with cover 4 on the backside, that's not a real coverage. You've never seen it before. So where do you go with the ball? Where's the relief throw? Who's hot in that situation? All these routes are designed for certain coverages, but what happens when they blow a coverage and block everything up? It's just part of the football game, and especially on a Thursday in Tulsa where everything goes wrong, you just had to hold on. And I think the Pirates did that well, and North Texas will be a different story.
We talked this week, Pilk and I did, about the coaching openings that have happened in college football, or the jobs that are open in college football.
Basically the American.
We talked a lot about the American. Yes, that is the case. So we tend to think that Pilk, did you have Fresno as the number 1 on your list? I have FAU as the number 1 on my list. Fresno second, ECU third right now.
I had 1 and 2 that you had flipped. I had Fresno 1.
Yeah, which Pilk was wrong. And so of the jobs that are open in the American, a handful of them. How would you rate the 5 American jobs?
Well, the bottom is
it
Rice.
5 or 4?
I think it's
Rice.
5. Rice is at the bottom, hands down. FAU and ECU based on...
Wait a minute. Whoa. And not Temple?
No, Temple's at 4. Temple at least has some kind of strong pedigree that they can lean on. They've had players before. They've had coaches before. They were really successful at one point. They have an identity. Temple tough. They're going to try and hire a coach who can establish that again and bring it back to the forefront. The problem with Temple and why they're not higher on the list is who wants to go play at West Philly. Like that's not you're not competing with Boca. You're competing with Greenville and Boca, and then South Florida all in the American itself. You're competing for destinations. Greenville is a college town where everybody loves to come and be a part of a community and a family. You're not getting that in West Philly. I've known plenty of players from Temple. They say the same thing. One guy had to kick somebody out who was a homeless dude who wound up on his couch before a lift. It's a lawless land up there. Rice, Hogwarts, who's going to Hogwarts? I'm not even going to entertain this idea. The fact they're in the American was strictly for basketball and baseball, and softball. That's it. Throw that out the window. It gets complicated when you look at the other openings. FAU on paper should be the most enticing spot for any player to want to go play. You're playing 4 years in Boca Raton, Florida, getting paid and playing football at the field named after the late, great Howard Schellenberger. It's a fantastic situation that you should have been in. Tom Herman didn't succeed, and we all know that Lane Kiffin rebuilt it through what we now see as the transfer portal, and he's done it at Ole Miss. So I think they need a coach in a similar situation as far as that goes. Charlotte could go either way. The legend of Biff is everybody loved Biff. Biff was such a great guy off the field. He didn't produce on the field. He had one big win, and it really was ECU the last 2 years that kind of kept him in that threshold, but he never cracked anything. I don't even think they made bowl eligibility. I think their best season was 5 wins. Am I right?
Yeah.
No, he's got six total wins there. I think he won
He's got
3
6 total
and 3.
wins. He won 3. He's won 3 and 3. Yeah.
So Charlotte's a spot.
You
where
were on such a
build it
roll. I just wanted to agree with you. You were so convicted and on a roll. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's fine. He had 5 total wins. That's what it was, and then he wound up with a third this year with ECU. So that's where the numbers were in my head. So he was never the guy you needed it to be. What's going to be interesting, and I'm not speculating, I'm just pointing it out. Coach Houston was supposed to go to Charlotte before he went to ECU. Did they give him the phone call back again to try and rebuild that? Because he does some great things with a program that doesn't necessarily have a ton at the time, and then it builds, and then it blows up, and then the fundraising comes in, and these teams kind of inflate themselves back up in a brand aspect. So it'll be interesting to see for that as well.
The only reason I think you might hear Mike Houston's name there is because that program needs some discipline.
Yep.
And needs a plan and some focus.
Yeah.
And we know that's Mike Houston's MO. Yeah. And they need a little bit of that after Biff. Usually go kind of opposite of what you had previously. All right. Very good.
Very much so.
Exciting stuff here. Joe Samson, great to talk to you. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it. And we'll see you in the morning.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Excited for the Pirates. It'll be interesting to see how they take on the alma mater of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Thank you, Joey Football. Philip Pilkington here with your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. The basketball team bounced back after a tough loss last time out, and they defeated Stetson. Cam Hayes said he's happy with how the team responded after their first loss of the season.
I think just the response was one of the big things, and we offensive rebounded a lot today. We had, I think it was 16 offensive rebounds 16. Compared to yesterday. We didn't have that many offensive rebounds, so what Coach emphasized that we needed to, implement on to this game from the last game, we definitely did that. And I think everybody responded well from both ends, offensively and defensively.
They'll play Illinois Chicago tomorrow at roughly 1:30. Network coverage will start at 1. Anson Belt and Buckle Pirate Game Day Countdown brought to you by Orthopedic Easton Sports Medicine Center at 11. Football game at 3:30 with network coverage starting at 2 on 107.9 WNCT. Speaking of Pirate athletics, the volleyball team's conference tournament came to an end at the hands of the FAU Owls today in 3 sets. Angeles Aldery did get injured in the first set of that contest, and one was unable to return. Looking over to the NFL side of things now, the Daniel Jones has been released by the New York Giants. They owe him $20 million in dead cap. Brock Purdy will not be starting this week against the Packers. They're going to have to start Brandon Allen instead, and Devontae Smith has been ruled out by the Philadelphia Eagles. That will do it for our 94.3 Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. We're going to talk the latest happenings in the Queen City on the other side with Bobby Rosinski.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227. Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
We have you covered with all the ECU news and beyond that you need for the drive home. The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Friend of the program from ESPN Radio out in Charlotte, Bobby Rosinski, also a broadcaster with the Charlotte Niners on their football radio broadcast and on ESPN Plus out there. He's back on the program. Great to have him on. I was on Bobby's show, dragging that situation down when Mike Houston got relinquished of his duties. But the big news this week in North Carolina, Biff. No, it's not Mac Brown's coming back. It's Biff. Says he's done. Biff is done. He got fired, but then he showed up at practice the next day. Here to explain all of it to us, the madness going on in the Queen City. Bobby Rosinski joins us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Bobby, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, man. And we got to stop meeting like this.
Well, you know, there's a dozen more coaches or so that maybe go through.
I was about to say,
right,
David Tepper has not fired anybody this year. Dave Canales could be on the chopping block if they lose to the Chiefs.
Who knows?
Better not lose to Kansas City.
All right, so let me ask you a little bit about the situation here with Biff. Why the move now? What led to it? Because I mean, he just got a season and a half into this thing. It's much different than the Mike Houston deal, which had some term to fall back on.
Yeah, for me, look, I'll say it first. I was surprised when the move happened and Biff Poggi was no longer the head coach of this football team. But as we look in the new landscape of college football, I guess timing of it, right? With Charlotte's move, that is what, the fifth American Athletic Conference school that is parting ways with their coach, with ECU being right there at the front of that. And you got the transfer portal signed, everything that happens there in early December. So if you're the 49ers, you can't really wait till the end of the season. And look, they have two winnable games. There's no doubt about that, starting tomorrow when they take on FAU. And then UAB will come here to town. And who knows if UAB will be next on the list here of American Athletic Conferences with a available coaching spot. But 2 years in, or 22 games, I think is where we were with Biff, and it was 6-16 leading this football team. I think the question had to be, were they making progress? And Mike Hill, the athletic director for the 49ers, and he said it on Tuesday at his press conference discussing this move, and it brought up the ECU game. For ECU, it was by far the best game we have played with Biff Poggi as the head coach of this football team. But Mike used the word outlier to describe it. And unfortunately, he's right. There's just maybe Memphis, I can say this year. We went there and a hard-fought game. They scored in the last 30 seconds of the game to pick up the victory. But other than that, there's a lot of games this year where we might play one good quarter of football, or maybe it's a half of football, but then you get boat raced in the second half of the game. It happened against James Madison to start the year, and then unfortunately, and you guys probably speak on this, being at home for ECU games, you can't lose at home, and you can't lose bad at home. And that's unfortunately what happened to the 49ers on Halloween when Tulane came in here. Look, Tulane's a top 25 team playing in the American Conference Championship game, but that was a 10-3 game at halftime. You lose 34-3. South Florida this past weekend. People, if you just look at the final score, you probably have no idea that was a 14-10 halftime game. And then I call it the third quarter from hell, what took place. And it was just awful in every aspect of it, whether it was offense, defense, special teams, as bad as it can be. And you went from a sellout crowd on homecoming. And I know, we got a smaller stadium, around 16,000 people, and counting whatever stand-ups you have. There was 600 people probably for the fourth quarter of that game. And I don't blame people that walked out of there. I mean, it was as bad as you could be. Look, it got cold. It was dark at that point in time. So people left the stadium, and there wasn't much left in the crowd for that game. So I think for Mike Hill, 22 games in, could you say, hey, things are going to get better next year? I can't answer that and say that it would. And I think Mike realized that too. And look, he just got a contract extension back in October. So for him, I think it's easier now to make this move, start fresh, and get this done here, because right now it didn't look like it was going to work out with Biff.
ESPN Charlotte radio host Bobby Rosinski with us here. What's the NIL story out there? Because I've heard just different things about that. Biff was supposed to be a guy that could raise NIL funds. I'd heard maybe there was some discord as far as maybe not living up to those promises. Maybe Biff didn't feel like that the NIL was as healthy as it needed to be. So what, according to you, at least what you could tell us, Bobby, what's the straight poop out there?
Yeah, look, you look at the NIL situation. I think this is a challenge for all schools. I think we could say in the American Athletic Conference, you can go down to Sunbelt schools that we know are in our area as well. You're kind of picking and choosing, right? Who is going to get that money? And I think for Biff, he originally thought, hey, I'm coming into what is a top 25 radio TV market with Charlotte. You have major corporations located here, whether that's Lowe's, Bank of America, pick a bank out there. Obviously, we know there's a ton here that maybe I think he thought there would be more investment from that side of it. And to me, that's just misreading the situation. If you were Biff coming into this town, obviously Biff has plenty of money on his own. Like, he's okay despite the firing on Monday. Biff's going to be all right. So I think there was some money. I don't know whether he was involved in it or not, but I think the NIL, it's definitely, they have to make the decisions of who you going to invest in. And that's the tough spot here. And you can look at the quarterback situation now for Charlotte. Max Brown was the guy that got brought in here from Florida to be the guy, with NIL money being a part of that. And, it hasn't worked out. You guys saw Deshaun Purdy up close and personal in that game against ECU. So is he someone you're going to invest in? It's not like you can sit here and spread the wealth around all over the place. It's not that type of money for the Charlotte 49ers. Another thing is to invest money. Let's say you're a business, and I don't care where you are. You want to see a return on your investment, right? You want to see a football team or basketball team, baseball, pick a sport that you want. That's winning games. And I think for Mike Hill, again, you can go back, and I mentioned that this crowd's not a lot there in the second half of this football game.
Right.
And the crowd's been great this year, by the way, for Charlotte. And it's been great for the last few years, despite records that have not been good. The students have been fantastic. The alumni have shown up. I mean, people have been there supporting this football team, but results haven't worked out. So, look, NIL is a challenge. I mean, you're not going to be able to go out and outspend a Memphis if we want to go on that aspect of it, the AAC and what FedEx obviously gives that university here. So, I mean, it's a work in progress, as I think it is for a lot of schools. And it's tougher when you're obviously not ACC, SEC, Big Ten, and all those guys.
So why did he show up at practice the next day after he was dismissed? What was that about?
Because he can. It's Biff, man. Look, I got to work with Biff for 2 years. He is as hilarious as you probably see him on interviews and the cutoff shirts and all that stuff. That's just who he is, man. This guy's worth millions of dollars. He can do what he wants, and he came in. And I don't know whether you heard it. I mean, it was Frank Sinatra my way, had his arms up in the air like it was Richard Nixon getting on the plane or something like that. I mean, it was a scene that we had from Biff Poggi, and I believe I saw him tweet that he was going up to Michigan this week. Who knows?
Okay.
Maybe he helped get the #1 quarterback recruit that just flipped from LSU to Michigan yesterday. So yeah, Biff's off to Michigan now. That was his Swans. I mean, we did see the Kennesaw State coach greet his team in the walk-in line last week. I don't think Biff is going down to Boca, so I think we're okay there.
He might. He could afford it. So let me.
Well, he definitely afford it.
Who are the candidates for the job? So we talked this week. Pilk and I did. I think FAU's the best job of all the open jobs right now, just because of where they are and the scene, the talent in the state, that sort of thing. And then when we looked at all the jobs open, Fresno was 2, and then I had East Carolina 3. And where did I have Charlotte? Wasn't it 4th or 5th, Pilk?
Yes,
where I had Charlotte. Yeah. So I mean, and I think you can make a case Charlotte is a top 3 job, but you're on the ground there. You kind of know what's going on. So where's this candidate pool likely going?
Well, what you heard from Mike Hill and what we talk about on the radio this week, look at the last 2 hires of Will Healy and Biff Poggi. More CEO type guys than football guys. And they let their coaching staffs handle things. Biff was not one shy about it. I mean, he was not sitting there on the sidelines during games calling X's and O's. That wasn't what he did. So for this hire, there is no doubt in my mind whoever this next head coach is of the Charlotte 49ers is going to be a guy that is a football guy and a specialty, whether that's offense, defense. I don't think that matters, but that is going to be something where this guy comes in and he has direct hands-on impact of what the 49ers are doing on one side of the ball or other. Now, candidate list that's been out there, Alex Atkins is a popular name here in town. Now, he was the offensive coordinator for the one bowl season we had in 2019 under Will Healy. He left after that season, went to Florida State. A lot of success there with the Noles, but we know what happened this year. He got fired, but he also has a show cause, and that's another year in it. Now, you can still hire him. You just have to go to explain it to the NCAA. I don't know how that works currently, Patrick. If you can just show up to Indianapolis, knock on the door, walk in the office, and make your case, and they're going to say, okay, we agree with you. So that one's hard for me to see. So there's a lot of other names out there. Kerwin Bell is the head coach at Western Carolina, won at Division II level at Valdosta State, and has been fine at Western Carolina. It's funny, the game last night with NC State and Georgia Tech, there's a couple of state people that have been mentioned. Tony Gibson there. Chris Winkie down in Atlanta with Georgia Tech as their offensive coordinator is a name that it's thrown. So kind of that similar pool. I mean, there's candidates thrown out there. People here. I see
what
Dan
about
Mullen.
Steve Wilkes?
I know he was. I don't see that happening with Steve Wilkes.
Okay.
I think he's an NFL guy. Look, he got, to me, unfairly fired by the 49ers. And if you want to call it the Wilkes curse this year of what's going on in San Francisco, and maybe we had it here with the Panthers too, after he was let go. But I think he's more of an NFL guy. He lives here in Charlotte, went to high school in Charlotte, college we know at App State. So I think he was around the program this year in kind of an analyst role. I would see him during the facilities during the week. But I would be hard-pressed to think he would be the guy that the 49ers would hire. And same goes for Tim Brewster, who's the interim coach here these last 2 weeks. Obviously, a long pedigree for Brewster as a successful recruiter and stuff like that. But I think you're going to see a guy that is currently either been a head coach or kind of that up-and-comer.
How about Skip Holtz? You know, I from what I understand, he's not a candidate here, at least in a real strong sense. So what do you think? I mean, you talk about a CEO and a guy who can raise money. It's Skip Holtz.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up his name. He's a name that was out a lot, actually, before Biff was hired. Fans here are intrigued with Skip Holtz, and it was funny with him, and I believe he's at Louisiana Tech, right? When he got let go there a couple of years ago, and we had played there with Will Healy, and Will and Skip are really good friends. I think they golf together and stuff during the offseason and stuff. So I thought it'd be a little ironic there if Skip had replaced Will. But yeah, he's a guy who's had success now in terms of official. If you look at betting odds and stuff like that of who could be the next head coach, I don't really see Skip Holtz being a part of that. You want to talk fans here, of what fans would like. Skip Holtz is a popular name. Bill Clark, the former UAB coach, is in the mix that we hear his name a lot. And I was mentioning Dan Mullen. I don't know if that's just because he was here a couple of weeks ago with SportsCenter for the Thursday night game on Halloween. I don't know if Dan would leave his cushy job at SportsCenter to come here, but there's a lot of different names. But Skip Holtz would be one that would make more sense, right? A guy who's had success at this type of level in college football. And for the 49ers, you're just looking to get to that. I mean, it's been since 2013. They made the move up in 2015 to FBS level, and it's just been one bowl game, one winning season. And it's been a rough go of trying to get the just sustained success and make that happen. So Holtz, to me, if he was the name that you ended up hearing, I don't think fans here would be mad about that.
All right, last word here. Panthers put that 2-game win streak, or 2 wins in a row, on the line against the freshly defeated Kansas City Chiefs. What happened Sunday and why?
What happens this Sunday? A lot of Chiefs fans, I think, in attendance for this game. Look, Panthers have won 2 in a row. It's nice, right? I mean, you're just looking for something good to happen for this football team. Now, you beat the New Orleans Saints, you beat the New York Giants. They are the 2 worst rush defenses, I believe, in the National Football League. And Chuba Hubbard proved that with a career high he had there in Germany against New York. I thought it was funny. Dave Canales said Bryce made a statement against the Giants. I don't know what statement that was. Throwing for $130 is not exactly a statement in my world. But look, we've seen a different Bryce since he's come back after being benched. And it's not that he's lighting the world on fire, but he looks more like a serviceable quarterback in the National Football League. You go into this game Sunday, I'm a Bills fan, just to let everyone know. So I thoroughly enjoyed the Bills' victory over Kansas City this past weekend. Obviously, the Panthers are no Buffalo. And for me, Kansas City is going to be coming in now off this loss to the Bills, ready to show people again, like, hey, this is who we are. Travis Kelce had 8 yards receiving in this game against Buffalo. So he's someone you got to watch out for in this game. I'm excited to see Jonathan Brooks, what he can do in his first game. Obviously, Miles Sanders being out, I think Brooks would have replaced him anyway. So that's probably the one more exciting thing to watch. And defensively, I'll say one thing. DJ Wanham, I was excited when they signed him. Unfortunately, had the blood clot that kept him out a lot longer than anybody anticipated. The Chiefs' tackles are not good. So if there's one area the Carolina Panthers can try to be good in this game, it's Clowney, it's Wanham, and it's getting off the edge.
1 o'clock kick from Charlotte. It'll be heard on our sister station, Talk 103.7 WTIB, at noon here in the East. Will the game this week, Chiefs-Panthers. How'd you become a Bills fan really quick?
Dad's from Buffalo, so got me into it as a kid, and actually just went up there about 3 weeks ago. They played the Dolphins. Took my son. It was his first time going up to Buffalo, so that was the thriller. Tyler Bass game-winning field goal at the end to win it for the Bills. So a lot of heartache, fun during the regular season, and then January comes and we go cry in a corner.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right, there he goes. Bobby Rosinski. Great to have him on. Thanks to Philip. Thanks to Joey Football and Bobby Rosinski. We'll be on the air. Anson Belt & Buckle Pirate Game Day Countdown presented by Orthopedics East. Tomorrow, we will be coming your way at 11 a.m. right here on 94.3 The Game. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. See you Monday. See you tomorrow, too, for the